Hello. So today, as part of this video, we are going to understand, okay, how we can able to perform the server-side authentications with one of the operations which is available as part of the MCP connector 1.2. Okay, so till now we haven't seen like any security mechanism kind of we have implemented or we did the check while we are creating our MCP server. Okay, so now I'm going to try to implement this, how we can be able to implement this understanding. Okay, so there are n number of ways. Okay, so I have started very basic one, like suppose we all know like the client credential by using the client ID or client secret. Mostly we used to hit our the experience API. Apart from that, we have also the auth servers, okay, like auth access token validations, or we can say the basic validations. So these are different, but as part of this videos we are going to understand how we can able to validate the client ID and client secret, okay, as part of the server side authentication on the MCP server with taking the help of the on new session listener. Okay, so let me quickly jump over this where I have implemented this. Okay, so let me quickly check here how we have implemented these things. Okay, so here I have implemented this. If you go to the MCP connectors, here you can be able to see the MCP server call on new session listener. Okay, so what I did, I created one separate flow, okay, where I put the MCP server or on new listeners. Okay, and here I have simply put the MCP server configurations, okay, which we have seen like as part of our previous video. Okay, and here the rejections means on the which error code, okay, this should reject. Okay, or think from that, if suppose your authentications or your validation is getting failed, okay, how, what are the error status code or error message this needs to reply. Okay, this need to send it. Okay, so here I have put this just the variable error code or error message which I have defined later in this. Okay, so that, or we are good to put any the hard code value or something like this as well. Okay, here I am just putting the some log, okay, along with the payload. I will tell like why we are going to get like printing the attributes as well. Okay, so what happens, like if you see here, okay, like currently it is showing this. Okay, so this is the, if you see the output is going to, as part of the payload we are going to get the session ID. Okay, and we are going to get the additional parameters which is nothing but we can say the HTTP headers or lots of the others informations. Okay, and these are as part of this client certificate. If there is any certificate, okay, which we wanted to validate, okay, so this is also going to return there. Okay, as part of the, so when it is going to generate, so whenever a new session is going to connect, which means any client which is going to connect with the MCP server, either your like the client which is the external or your LLM client or any client which is you have created in the mule. Okay, so if that is also going to connect, okay, so it is going to automatically generate this session ID for each and every client. Okay, and that is the unique one. Okay, if you are going to like validate your basic authentications, your bearer tokens or your client ID, client secret, all will be part of this additional properties. Okay, certificate will be totally separate, which is the inside the object. Okay, so I have taken the example of the client ID and client secret. Okay, so what I am doing here as part of this transformation, I have just extracted this payload. Okay, apart from that I am taking the session ID, that is the unique which is going to generate automatically. Okay, here you can see as well, and this is the HTTP header. I have considered all the additional properties as a HTTP headers. We can directly call as a headers as well or additional properties. You can take any like variable name. Okay, and this I am just taking the session timestamp when the session ID created or entered. Okay, To make this video to understanding simpler, okay, I am using the hard code value of the client ID, client secret, okay. So till now here I have, if you see, like extracted this additional properties into the HTTP headers, okay. From here I am trying to extract the client ID, okay, from where HTTP headers, and this is the client ID, okay. So just I have considered a different format because a few of my applications are using in this format client ID, few of you are using at this client ID, okay. So if any format will be there, it is going to pick. So just I'm extracting the client ID and client secret which is coming from the request, as part of the request, as part of the attributes, okay, additional properties, okay. And to make it simple, okay, I have like put the hard code value of the one of the client ID and client secret which is the valid. Sometimes happens like for all non-prod environment you have the one client ID and client secret, or maybe your client ID or client secret is going to differ from environment to environment, okay. So think from similar way, okay. So I have kept the valid client ID and the valid client secret, okay. So the motive to keep this hard code is, and what is coming into the request, so I wanted to validate this, okay. By matching I wanted to validate whether this is going to match or not, to verify whether this is the authenticated or like the correct client credential or not. Now what I'm doing, I'm validating the client ID and client secret. So first of all I am checking, okay, so if the client ID or client secret which is coming as part of the request, okay, as part of this HTTP header where I have stored, that must be the not empty, okay. And if you see the client ID equals to valid client ID, and this where client secret is this where valid client secret. So that is the part I am just comparing. So if this is going to match, it is going to part of this flow. If it is not going to match, okay, this is going to as part of this flow, okay. So in not matching flow I am going to raise an error. So let's see what I am doing here. So if it is match found, so I'm creating this one of the payload, okay, where I am keeping the session ID, timestamp, auth header, nothing but our additional header, okay, or you can say the status, okay, you can say the HTTP header, whatever, okay. Similar to these are the just logger, okay. And what I'm doing, I am storing this information into one of the object store, okay. And on which basis I am storing, so I am using the session ID as a key, okay, because for each client every time this is the new key that is going to generate it, and this is the uniquely as a kind of the UUID it is going to generate, okay. So that is I keep here, and payload whatever I have creating here, the payload that I am passing here. Similar to, so if you see here, this is the I'm saying the status as a authenticated, okay. If it is not matching, so I'm passing this status rejected, and this is the just reason I am passing here, okay, just to store into this object store. So either it is accepted or rejected, I am storing it, okay. So here also I am storing it, okay. And after that I am raising one error, okay. So what is the error? Authentication invalid credentials, okay, invalid or missing client ID. So that I am raising, okay. And this is I am going to catch over here, okay, on error continue, authentication invalid, okay. And here I am creating one of the two variables called the error code and error message. So that is the something like I have put just for the 401, or maybe you can take the 403 as a forbidden kind of thing, anything, okay. Or maybe this is the error message I have put, okay. And this is the things I'm going to map over here, okay. So hope like this implementation you were able to understand. Let's try to run it and see how it is going to, okay. So meanwhile it is going to take time to run. Meanwhile I'm going to pause my video and I will come once it is going to ready. So now we can see our application has been deployed locally, okay. So that is fine, okay. before going to test it, okay, let me also see how I'm doing this validations into our this MCP server tool listeners. Okay, so suppose think from this has been configured on new listeners. Okay, and here I have one of the flow where I have done, okay, give like mule MCP fetch case by case ID. Okay, so I haven't made any changes over here. Okay, fetch case details by case ID. Okay, only thing we need to take care, like whenever a request any LLM is going to send this request or any client. Okay, if you see here, okay, we are going to, this is the normal things. I haven't made any changes over here. Okay, to fetch case details from Salesforce Service Cloud, these are the all the if you follow my previous video, these are there. Okay, I just using this session details because whenever a particular client is going to initiate, okay, to connect with the MCP server, and it's calling the tools, okay, which we have exposed, it is also sending it's the session ID. We will see, okay, in the debug mode how we are going to get it. Okay, so what I am doing, I am going to just check by using the fetch session details to check, because I have the same store in the object store. I'm just retrieving the session ID, okay, by through the attribute as the session ID. Okay, so against that particular session ID which we are getting from as part of this MCP tool listener, we are checking into the object store. If we are going to get the status as a authenticated, because we are going to store both authenticated as well as the rejected. Okay, although maybe in real use cases that is not required for the reject one. Okay, but just for the this understanding, like we can able to also store the like uh, authenticated as well as the rejected. Okay, so we are going to, I need to only to validate whether for that particular session ID the status is authenticated or not. If it is authenticated, okay, let's proceed, fetch the case details. If it is not authenticated, just print the logger something. Okay, or we can also give the some response builders here. Okay, this is not authenticated something. Okay, so we'll see that part also. For the time being, let me add this breakpoint so we can able to see. Okay, so in order to test that, I have deployed it locally, and I'm going to use my cursor, okay, which I have configured this local MCP server, okay, to see, okay, how we are going to uh, trigger that request and how this is going to register. Okay, so let's move to cursor. So before hitting to the cursor, let me make sure that you are going to add locally. Okay, so you must add your MCP server. So here I have defined like the local MCP server where I have given the URL. Okay, and because I'm using the ClientId and ClientSecret, you are supposed to make sure that you are going to use this. Okay, this ClientId and ClientSecret you are passing. Okay, so this is the required one. Okay, so let me close these things. Okay, and if you see here, this has been added. Let me enable it. Okay, see, till now I have enabled means one of the session has been initiated. Okay, and you are going to get this result here. If you see, attributed nothing, but as part of the payload you can able to see this session ID, and you can able to see this additional properties where this client ID, client secret, all these values are there. Okay, these values are there. Okay, so let just, I'm just extracting it. Okay, it's stuck. Okay, yeah, so it's going there, it's going, okay, extracting client ID, fine. So it's going to this flow, means the match has been found. Okay, and it is going to store this object store. Okay, if you see here, so this has been, and here you can see what we are going to store into object store: session ID, timestamp, auth header, So in auth header we are sending this entire one along with this status as a authenticated. Okay, so these all we are going to store into our object store. Okay, so which means that once this has been authenticated, you are going to get this has been enabled. Okay, let's see, let me clear it. Okay, so sometimes happens it's not showing this. Okay, but if it is authenticated, it's good. Okay, it's able to show the tools. Okay, now let me hit this one of my prompt to see. Okay, let me use this MCP JSONs. Okay, and just write it down. Okay, so see whether it is going to hitting or not. Okay, so again it is coming. Let me go here. So I pass this. Okay, so let's see how this cursor is behaving. Okay, okay, so it's saying access the muse or directly using credential your MCP blah blah blah. What is, let me try using Brilio MCP. No, that is not required. Okay, let me again clear this. Clear. Okay, now this has been enabled. Okay, let me add this MCP just sent. Okay, fetch case details where case ID this. Okay, so let me see. So if you see here, let me see the request. Okay, so not yet. Okay, just run it. If you see, it is going to hit here case record. Okay, and if you see here, let me quickly. Okay, so it is going to fetch this session. Okay, it is going to retrieve. So if you see against this session ID, this has been fetched here. Okay, this informations. Okay, if you go here, okay, if you see here, it is going to fetch your credential. Say next. You can see here run a node. So since I am using the debug mode, okay, so we are going to get the timeout issue. Okay, so maybe like we will remove this debug one. Okay, but you see here like again it's sent, and we can able to see these are the some JSON request which we have fetched. Okay, and here we can able to see this result. Okay, so what I'm going, okay, just remove this breakpoint. Okay, okay, and what I'm going to do, okay, just stop this. Okay, and let me try to put the incorrect value, okay, of this. Okay, and let's see how it is going. Okay, okay, so how I can put this incorrect value. Okay, so go to your tools.mcp, add your MCP server. Okay, here I can suppose instead of 85 I will give the 86. Fine, and let me see here. If I give here 86, okay, and here if I'm going to this local MCP, see how this is going to behave. Okay, so this has been raised the error. If you see here, directly raise the error, invalid or missing client secret get details. It's correct, authentication server. Okay, and here you can be able to see like this is the previous one. If you see here the what is going to store into the object store, this is the rejected, and this is the reason. With this reason it is going to reject. Okay, and this is the error we are going to, and since it is going to rejected, okay, you are not going to see all the tools which are available over here. Okay, it will be keep in this moment only. Okay, so let me quickly fix it, and let's see. If I'm going to fix it, see, as soon as I fixed it, okay, if you see it was triggered, it is happening so quickly. Okay, here see the status authenticated. Okay, so now like this session or this LLM client is authenticated to connect with the MCP server. Okay, so hope you are going to like implement the same things at your end and able to understand what is the purpose of, maybe in different videos. I'm going to come up with how we can validate the basic auth, how we can able to also like the auth providers, maybe like the auth providers into the mule itself, to see how this can be implemented. Okay. Okay, so hope thanks for your watching. Okay, thank you.